All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Good to see you here. And essentially, we're going to get started using Behance. So, welcome, everyone. Welcome, Bruno, Felicia, Ryan, Khalid, fantastic, Robert. And again, this is Behance. This is making an Adobe Portfolio, which is huge. I don't think a lot of people know about it. But essentially, since we've had portfolio reviews, it's going to be really beneficial to check this out. So that's the plan. You should be able to hear me okay and all that good stuff. So yes, welcome. Let's get this started. All right. And yes, I just kind of even step through what I'm going to talk about and why I'm talking and covering this. It's because essentially we are going to be in good old New York City for the 99U conference this week. This is from Thursday to Friday. Starts super early, 6:30 a.m. if you're on the left coast in Pacific time. But essentially, I know Felicia, what are you, Central Time? I think I could be wrong. I think you are Central Time. But basically, that's what's going down. It's actually taking place in New York City. That's why it starts so early. But it actually might work out pretty well for a lot of people in Europe and stuff. So let me know where you're from. Always good to hear, Axel and Esther and everyone. Yes, that would be good to know. You can see this awesome lineup. Okay, again, Tina Roth Eisenberg, Jeanette Liao, Amelia Chen, like really fantastic designers, illustrators, letterers. They kind of do it all, and that's what I want to show you as well. So, and if you're joining me on YouTube, hop over to behance.net/live. That would be awesome. But let's kind of click through the schedule in a little bit more detail, if you don't mind. Let's take a look right here. All right. Cleveland, Ohio's in the house. Cambodia. Okay, so these new times actually might work out pretty well for you. Or at least the new times this week. Again, Thursday and Friday. Okay, so yes, you're stuck with me today, but it's going to be a super good day. I'm super happy to cover Behance and everything that it has to offer, which is awesome. So very cool. Yes, the conference does look really amazing. But let's kind of click through. Actually, let me kind of share my screen if I could, because don't go there now, but you're on the behance.net/live. If you click on schedule right here, you'll be able to see, ooh, that's a close-up. You'll be able to essentially see, there we go. Bring that down a little bit. What the schedule is. And essentially, this is everything. Tina Roth Eisenberg, a packed schedule, essentially. So definitely check that out and find out who your favorite person is. But I'm going to actually jump from that, from the schedule, into what I'm going to talk about, which is all about basically Behance and getting into Adobe Portfolio. And this is what I'm going to cover today. So I'm sorry if I'm not going to be monitoring chat as much as usual. And yeah, Esther, no Tuesday through Thursday this week. It's just going to be Thursday. Excuse me. It's just going to be Thursday and Friday. So yeah, just no Tuesday and Wednesday. But what I'm going to cover is I'm going to sort of introduce everybody to Behance. You probably know about it because you're on it right now, hopefully, if you're not on YouTube. We're going to kind of click through creating a profile and talk about what Adobe Behance Portfolio is, and we'll even create one, and then we're going to roll that into an Adobe Portfolio. Okay, and we'll talk about customizing it. If you're a Creative Cloud member, you actually have access to an Adobe Portfolio, but I don't think a lot of people know about it. That's the short of it. So sharing my screen again, here's the schedule, and just kind of take a look at somebody's portfolio that I really like. Lauren Hom. This is her, what people call their Adobe Portfolio is essentially just this right here, just the person's name. So it's behance.net/Hom Sweet Hom. That's the sort of URL that she's decided on and that she uses everywhere. Okay, so this is slang for what we call a Behance portfolio, but it's almost slang because this is really your profile page. You know, how do you get to your profile page? well, Behance.net. And we'll make one and all that good stuff. You can see all these, but right up here, you can click in, and I'm having a problem with my zoom for some reason. That's very weird. But right up here in the upper right, you can click Behance Profile, and that will take you to a page like this. So you can see Lauren's, just to give a shout out to her since she's one of our guests this week. And you can kind of see how, all of her content's laid out. First off, we can follow her. We can see the number of project views, what she's been featured in, and a little bit more about her. But most stunningly is really her projects right here in the center, right? So we can kind of scroll down. She's very consistent with her lettering, right, all the way down. As I scroll down, you can see kind of all of her work and even how she's progressed over the years, right? So you can really kind of get a good idea of her work. And sure enough, if we take a look over here in the About section, it does say that she's a lettering artist and illustrator based in New York City, specializing in branding, typography, everything funny, yummy, pretty. And then new business, she kind of has a shout out to how to get a hold of her for new business, which is really cool. So this is what I love about her profile. First of all, it's short, it's concise, it's not too wordy. I appreciate just one paragraph. I know I need to probably cut mine down, but we'll look at mine next. But essentially also kind of like what she wants. I'm a big believer in just like asking for what you want. Like if you're looking for new work, post work and then be like, hey, I'm looking to do hand lettering. And just like what she's doing here. And as you scroll down, you can see her experience right here, and we can view her full resume as I click into it right in here. So that's the goal today, just kind of show you how everything is laid out and how to build one of these. Again, it's pretty straightforward, but you can see her resume at this point. I'll click back now. And again, this gets to be really important. We do portfolio reviews pretty much every week. We've been doing them lately. Yours has to be as robust as Lauren's, because hers is really impressive, showing the different networks she belongs to, her awards, her publications. Put down what you can, right? That's the idea. So welcome, Gus. Welcome, Jay Laxmi. Good to have you here as well. Always curious where you're from. And now let's dive into a project. I want to show you how to make these, and we can kind of click on these. So we have this project, which is 26 letters, 26,000 miles, and it is a series of travel-inspired, hand-lettered posters for lovers of adventures and beautiful things, okay? So she gives you a setup for creating this profile, this project, and then kind of breaks down each individual project, each of her 26 hand lettering examples she created, which is really awesome, right? So we totally have to appreciate this project. This one almost gets a little long. Like, this is amazing, by the way. Totally worth appreciation, but that's what she's done. Lumped everything into one, okay? So I'm going to show you how to create a project just like that now, and we can just kind of go into my Behance profile. Compared to hers, mine needs a lot of work, okay? We can see right here. But as soon as you're logged in, right, you're able to add these projects. I'll show you how to add them, and then also you'll have the ability to move them around. This gets to be really important as well. The one I'm going to actually add today, I'll show you how to do that. But basically, it's just by right up here, creating a project up at the top, okay? And that's what we're going to do. But we can see some of my projects right here. So let's dive into that. Create a project. Boom, here we are. We're going to start building your project, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to make. And I'm going to show you whether if you're in Illustrator, and also how you could probably do this in Photoshop. And I'm just kind of taking this example that I made last week, right? So essentially this is a project that I basically did an Illustrator tutorial on how to build something like this. But this is actually what I want to post. So we can take a look right in here in Illustrator, and I'm just going to show these artboards. But this artboard is what I need to output, okay? But what you could do in Illustrator, which I think is really cool, is you can actually add additional artboards. So I'm going to add a smaller artboard like right over here. Something like that. Kind of a 4:3 ratio. But I'm actually going to move it right on top of her head because I want to output that as an artboard as well. So you could actually output different artboards of, different segments of this piece. So that's kind of what I think I'm going to work on. Maybe I don't need that one. Let's just do these two right now. Okay, 2 artboards. File, export. Export for screens is what I'm selecting. And then these are the 2 different pieces that I'm going to output, okay? And the reason I'm doing this is to show you that as part of a project, you don't just have to necessarily put up one piece and then that's it. You could do 26 letters, 20 different letter experiments, like Lauren did, or you can take one piece and sort of have multiple graphics for it. So that's what I'm doing. Artboard 1, Artboard 2, we'll just kind of kick it out onto my desktop. We'll just do full. We'll do this one will be close up. Just like that. And for both of these, I'm going to make sure they're both checked. It's going to output them both at as a JPEG at 1 time the size. Let's actually take a look at this. I can actually go a little bit larger. Let's go about 2 times the size. The great thing, actually, let's go 3 times. Why not? The great thing about this is Illustrator, so it's going to scale up just fine. So I'm going to output these. I would say, so I do have a question about, like, sometimes you don't know what to talk about for new projects. So yeah, totally, JC. It's good to be sure what to talk about. Yeah, definitely couldn't agree more. For this example, actually, you know what, it's even the close-up is not that great, so I kind of need to tighten it up a little bit. But again, this was an example that I did for a training. So when I write up that, the sort of about piece for this project, I'm going to say, hey, this is part of a training for Illustrator. I was showing how to draw hair, how to do curves, how to, do shading and all that stuff. And I'm actually going to run that series again because, yeah, that is the plan. So yeah, just try to be honest. Don't, some people are super wordy, others aren't. Let's dive into this. So that's what I'm gonna do. Upload these files. We'll do, we have the close-up. Oh, it failed to upload. All right, let's try this one more time. And the thing is I wanted it pretty large. But I'm looking at this size, and I actually want it to throw me an error to show you what size it tells you. So like the FAQ, this is what it's going to talk to you about in terms of your profile and creating, editing, and publishing your work. So let's go into there. Right now, if we take a look at the size of this, go back here. The width of this, just to point it out to you right here, is about 1500. So the width of my space here is 1500. And currently, this is really curious why these 2 JPEGs. I might actually grab something else. It's having a hard time. All right, so I'm going to open up these in Photoshop really fast as well. I might need to optimize this a little bit. So we can see in Photoshop, I can just go ahead and take a look at the image size. I can make this, again, 1500. And make sure the resolution, again, is about 72 dpi, right? So at that point, that still looks pretty good. I might even want to tweak the color a little bit, but I'll keep it the maximum resolution and then dive into this one. So the thing about Illustrator is essentially this did it at high res, and that's what I wanted to point out. Hey, right? Is that you want it high res, but not too high res. So I'd keep it about 1500 pixels. And let's load in the close-up. Oh, this is fun. So let's try, in fact, another project as well. In fact, let me actually just jump to another project if you don't mind. One that I've already created. Wait for it. Wait for it. You did see actually a couple other things I can add, but let's go into this Day of the Dead one because this is one of my ones that I kind of put together recently. We can see sort of I've done a couple different colors, and I wanted to edit this project. So let's dive into editing this project. So imagine I've just uploaded these graphics. I can see right up here at the top I can add text, so I can say, hey, you know what, let's insert some media. So right up here at the top we can add some text. To experiment with brushes in both Illustrator and Photoshop. All right, so that's what I'm adding. Notice how you have this little edit button. As I take a look at this, I can edit this text, right, which is what I've been doing. If you highlight it and right up above, let's give it some room. There we go. Right above this, you can actually toggle the size and all that good stuff. So I'm going to drop this down to about 14 point, and I'm going to center that text, right? Because that might be my paragraph text. Next up might be this text right here that I want to edit. So taking a look at it, selecting it, it's kind of hard to see, but I'm going to drop this, take the size up to about 20, right? So now I just have the title and essentially some text just beneath that. I'm not going to make this too wordy because I want to be respectful of your time, but essentially this is all I'm working with right now. I can add more to this. What I could even do as well, this happens as well. Sometimes I cannot see this text. That's okay. Let's make it bold. We can dive into the different types of fonts. Of course, we're dealing with web fonts here, so you're kind of limited, but you can also go into your own sort of photos that you can define. All right, so I have my text there. Let's go ahead and maybe take a look at a couple other options that we have here, because as I'm looking at this, I might want to change the style of this because I actually want to edit the styles and the layout, because I'm thinking the background might be better served on black, right? So now I've gone from white to black. Let's go ahead and confirm that. And then I can also determine whether I want headers, subheaders, and everything like that. So notice how it has these different text styles. I can have headers that are white, for instance, or say a medium gray. Let's go with a medium gray. Paragraph text is going to be easier to read, so I'm going to make this a little lighter gray, and I'm going to make the size of this text at about 14 points, and the header text is going to be good at 36 bold, saving that. So now when I go in and I select this text, I can make sure this is my paragraph text, and it's going to conform to that. Same thing for this title. I can change that to header, and that changes that style, right? So now I can say that looks pretty consistent. As I scroll down, I just have two pieces. That's okay. I'm going to keep this simple for you. Notice off to the left, I can add the same things that even when I roll over, these things here are the same thing, the same media that I can add from the left side. So I can add photos from Lightroom. I can add images from Creative Cloud. I can even create a photo grid if I want to as well. Oh, see, Axel, you've been having problems with file size too. Thank you. That actually makes me feel better. That's something I'm going to have to take a look at. Nonetheless, not a big deal. I was going to take a second look at the FAQ just to verify. But just like any sort of service, Hosting service, there's going to be file size restrictions just because they don't, they don't want to take too big of a hit on hosting files. Photo grid is nice. And I think actually when it came to, if we take a look, and again, just to kind of review the schedule, Lauren Hom, by the way, she's going to be a guest this week. Here's the full list. By the way, this Friday, actually, we're going to announce the new Adobe Creative Residence. So that's one of the sort of last things that happen on Friday. A good way to sort of end the day, and that's going to be super cool. But this is the schedule of events happening Thursday and Friday, technically in that order, but you can always click on the schedule tab to see that. And kind of diving into exactly what I'm talking about, introducing you to Behance, which I don't even know if I did a clear enough job. Behance really is your a place for creatives to showcase their work and to be discovered creatively. So all creative fields, anyone can make a Behance portfolio as long as you have an email address, and that's how you can post your work and then also be discovered. That's what Behance is all about. I was thinking you already knew about it because you're probably on Behance right now. If you are on YouTube, then come on over to behance.net/live. Creating a profile. Again, I have a profile created. You just literally create a profile. I'm sorry, I just breezed over that because it was too simple. We've added a project. We're customizing that project, and we're going to roll these projects into an Adobe Portfolio. Okay. And hold on one second. Switch back over. Lauren Hom is on Thursday at 12 p.m. Pacific time. And since we're talking about Behance, what it is briefly, you can see right here on the home page. Essentially, you can see how you can build a portfolio in minutes, but here's how you can discover new work. You can also search for people as well. I can search again, Lauren Hom, and that's how I found her, right? I can also kind of narrow things down in terms of, say, the city of Denver, Colorado, how many people are doing Photoshop work, right, or hand lettering. But you can kind of dive into sort of worldwide and get even more specific from there, as I'm doing right now. Let's do all of Colorado. Let's see what's going on. Okay, let's actually remove that. This is all Colorado. Everything is happening in Colorado right now. Seeing if I recognize any of these names. So, very cool. All right, so nonetheless, what I wanted to point out as part of, let's clear this, Lauren Hom's portfolio that we looked at a second ago, she can actually be better served on this project of 26 letters and 26,000 miles is using more of a photo grid. So that's also an option when you have lots of pieces like this. Jump into your specific project that you're working on, and I can add a photo grid right down here. So you can add photos, uploaded all those individual items, and it will actually create a grid layout. So I do encourage you to do that if your portfolio calls for it, right? All right, I'm going to just save this and preview it. Looks good to me. And notice right up here for the URL, this is a project ID, so you could actually send somebody this link if you want to as well. Also notice what else I did is, actually let's go back to edit it. I'm going to go into cover right here, and the cover is where you want to sort of pick a segment to be the cover image, and that's essentially what this is. Notice how you can zoom in. I encourage you to, of course, pick a part that's compelling, just like that. Click done. Going into the settings, this is important as well. This is how people find you. But notice how to the right of my project, it's tools used. That's what I've picked. I've used Photoshop. I used Illustrator. So I can also add more if I happen to. In this case, I actually did do some 3D. Even if it's not Adobe product, you could maybe just add 3D. Technically, it was Cinema 4D was the skull. And now I have those 3 different tools used. Graphic design, sort of photography is kind of what I'm qualifying this as. Clicking save, and then save again, and then we can preview it. All right, so let's kind of move on from that because I want to kind of dive into this, what is now my portfolio. We call this our portfolio. Behance.net/Paul Trani in this case. I have these different projects. I'm noticing some of these need to be reorganized, and I want to be really pretty intelligent about these. I want to put maybe more of the photography together as I move this one up. And the second line is going to be more of my Illustrator work. And then I actually start to get into some, Sugar Monster stuff and some other things. So for some of these, honestly, I want to maybe even unpublish them because this happened to be a personal project right here. And these were wine labels I was making for my family. I can go down to unpublish. All right. And this will make it so it's not seen on my profile, which is actually really smart to do. I'm encouraging myself to do that as I kind of go through some spring cleaning, because as you start to, work and add content to Behance, you're going to realize you're going to need to clean it up more. So these were old projects. This is from an old event. Let's unpublish that. Right? And let's just keep the good stuff. Yeah, I designed a shirt. Not a big deal. Right? I feel like, kind of miss out on some of my better work if some of this bad work is showing up. So I'm just unpublishing multiple of these. Even for this Sugar Monster project, I can actually roll those all into one project, which is what I might consider. Okay. This one here, let's unpublish that. Hopefully that's all right. I'm curating. That's what this is called. Sort of bringing the best to the top, right? I don't even think these are that good. These ambigram, these guys, these can kind of go down to the bottom, right? But you get the idea. I'm going to zoom out with my browser, and that will enable me to move this down even further. There we go. Even these two graphics, this ambigram and this self-portrait, could be part of one unit. And that's, honestly something else I'd like to do for this. You get the idea. All of these are part of the Sugar Monsters project. We have a couple rows of that. Let's move this down. I'm almost done. Don't worry, I'm almost done. Bad jokes. Both of these could be part of the same series as well. There we go. All right, so that looks pretty good to me. And let's dive into the second half of this as I just switch over to our schedule, sort of building an Adobe Portfolio. Much easier than you think, all right? And customizing it as well. Super fun. So again, these Monday streams, if you're not familiar, they are more training based, kind of set you up for success this week. I don't mean to ignore chat, but that's essentially what I'm doing right now, is just kind of diving into creating a Adobe Portfolio right now. At the top, selecting Adobe Portfolio. You actually have access to it as a Creative Cloud member, right? So literally it will say, you can see it up here at the top. Let's kind of move this down. myportfolio.com, okay? You're going to have a button that says connect right here. And that's all I did. I just selected connect. And then you can dive into editing your portfolio, okay? So the one button that's missing here is the connect button. Clicking right here, let's go to edit your portfolio. this is what it's going to give you. It's going to give you your work already laid out, right? With the message that says welcome. And then from here, you get to kind of customize, right? Everything from reorienting these designs to even picking a different layout, okay? I can always go back by clicking the portfolio icon right there. I have my account down at the bottom, and then I can take a look at some other things. But since I have one theme picked already, I'm going to show you all some other themes as well. So clicking right here, switch themes. These are all the fancy names. I'm not sure why we named them this, but I really think it's fun actually. But let's kind of dive into a couple of these. Let's go into Andreas. Andreas is a good theme if you don't have a lot of work to showcase, because notice how it starts to toggle things from left to right. So within one screen view, I only see 2 pieces. So if you only have maybe like 5 pieces in your portfolio, go with Andreas is a good one, but you can see how it's laid out. Is this not amazing? Is this not good or what? Do you not love this? Sawdust was the one I was using. We can go into Marta. We can view a live example rather than just straight up using it. And again, this is similar to, say, for instance, WordPress. And again, how much does it cost you? Nothing. Okay, so Axel, you have a branded Behance and a personal Behance. 2 different Behance profiles. Can they be filtered into one? You can't, as I'm 99% sure you can't. You can upload that work separately, but what you could do is maybe, I would encourage you to have those projects shared as multiple owners, because that way it will show up in both portfolios. Okay, so for your personal one, you can, does that make sense? That's essentially what you want to do. You want to come in here and it's under settings. Right down here, co-owners, you can add your, your brand and your company Behance as a co-owner, and then that project is shared, and that's the best way to get it in there. All right, so going back, this is the Marta. We can scroll down and we can see all of basically this project. So this looks pretty good. This is a nice preview of it. I personally think it's helpful to say, hey, you know what? Let's use this theme and maybe customize it a little bit. Hi. Oh, good. I'm not Marta. I'm Paul. Scroll down to see more, right? And yeah, this looks pretty good. I'm just going to take a second look at these before I pick one. This one's really nice. Sawdust is really nice. I think the more work you have, you might go with something that has 3 columns. Here in this view, I can see 9 pieces already. So I might actually end up using something like this. So I'm going to use Sawdust, update this theme. What is the future plan for Adobe Portfolio and Behance? Kevin, it is going to be around for a while. Yeah, you know how there's, yeah. It's the Behance team they're alive and well and producing great work, and they have such an audience on Behance. Behance can't, it's like it can't go anywhere, really. It cannot go anywhere. We just hope that, we essentially make it valuable to you. I think one of the things that is missing is the fact that people don't know about Adobe Portfolio. All right, so I can see this one looks good. It actually highlights a lot of my work. It looks pretty fantastic. Notice how I can actually edit it. So I can edit a lot of that content that you saw from my project. I can edit it right in here. So I can start to customize them So far it's looking pretty good. Let's take the whole page as a whole. Right over here, you're going to be given this. You're going to have the ability to say turn on a masthead. And that's what this large sort of color is, this color space. I usually have that turned off, right? We have page covers and the tiles, so we can kind of take this down from 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. So even as you dive into this, if you do have a lot of work, you can have a 4-column view, but you could obviously see how powerful this is. I think the gutters look pretty good. Page titles, I can decide to change those. Should be pretty obvious what those are right here. It says album cover. Do I change that? Do I make it a little larger? What's nice, as you dive into this, you can actually sort of get into more web fonts, okay? And that's might be what I want to do. In fact, let's take a look at this. Page titles. Managing web fonts, making this look a little bit different. You can see that it's tied into, you guessed it, Typekit. It's right in here. If I want something a little bit more streamlined, I can go with something like Abolition, adding that font, clicking done. There it is, Abolition. I have 2 different styles for it. It starts to get a little small in this case. Let's crank it up some. The reason I like Abolition is because it's a narrow font. So, because I want to be pretty intelligent about the font I pick. If it's narrow, I know I can fit long titles in there. So right down here, you see this one, Sugar Monsters, Ice Cream Princess. That all fits in there, nice and neat. And then I can click done. In fact, let's just bring up the color a shade. I'm a huge fan of light gray, as you can see. Let's take a look at the gallery background. I can upload an image. I can actually just pick a color. Here I'm just including a background color. If I want to shift that and go with a dark view, I can do that as well. So that's actually looking pretty good. I'm going to go with medium gray because that's what I like. And this is my website. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm kind of taking a look at chat right now. Yes, Axel, you're exactly right. It's amazing how much control we have in here, as you can see. Even for all these projects, I can decide for my portfolio. What if I want to add content or remove content, you know, right in here. I can sort of dive into customizing the page covers, which is what I was doing a second ago. Edit that cover image for this one in particular, right? If I decide I want to increase the size to kind of zoom in on the shirt alone. Edit page info. I can see that this one actually did use Photoshop, but I actually also know it used Adobe Illustrator. Adding Illustrator in there, clicking done. And again, it gives me all this other information that I didn't have to enter in. Right, Alexander? You probably know this, but it's nice that all this information I didn't have to enter in a second time because guess what? It's all right over here for this project or whatever project I was taking a look at. It's all of these fun projects now become part of my portfolio right here. Cool. What would be the best size and resolution for to upload the files so they don't take a long time to load? Do 72 DPI, 1500 pixels wide, as tall as you need it to be, and output it as a JPEG and play with the quality. You could maybe do 80% and be just fine. You can easily go 60% and be just fine as well. So thank you so much for joining me. If you are just joining me, I'm going to go for about 20 more minutes diving into customizing this Adobe Portfolio. Like, how easy is this? Did you think this was going to be harder? Because it's not, right? This is really awesome, right? Again, tweaking this accordingly for my portfolio. As I take a look right here, this is going to be better served tighter like that because I actually like sort of removing a lot of that white in my case. Right? That looks much better. And by the way, if we take a look at this as well, I'm editing the cover image. If I dive into the rollover image, I can get as complex as I need to, right? My only warning here is you're gonna run out of time. Like, I'm sorry, but that's life. And essentially, every time you add a project, you're gonna have to upload a new rollover image. Which if you're up for that, that's great. If you can do it, it's really going to give maybe your portfolio an edge. But if you're, if you have a lot of them and are uploading a lot, just consider the amount of work it's going to take in the long run as you kind of move along, right? Taking a look at this one. It's still dealing with the high-res image, by the way. So just because I'm increasing the size of this thumbnail, doesn't mean that I'm like destroying the quality and or anything like that. Well, let's kind of take that little snapshot. That's more interesting. Getting rid of that white, clicking done. Wait for it. It should load. Give it a second. It'll crop it out. I might need to refresh this page, and I can move on down the line. Let's dive into some of these. As I click on them, I can see that this is the ambigram project. I can see the page color has changed, right? So I might want to consider editing this, right? But here's part of this ambigram project that I was working on. Everything looks pretty good. Okay. And let's go back to the home page. All right. I'm going to show you a couple more things before I dive into individual projects, because off to the side, I want to show you, hopefully you can see that. Oh, it's getting cropped a little bit. I apologize. It's getting a little cropped, but essentially right over here. There we go. There we go. You can see off to this side, this is what I was selecting when I was selecting switch themes. This is how I was getting there. If it was getting cut off earlier, I apologize, but this is how you switch between themes. Okay, we can also see right up here, we can edit your settings. So this is sort of like on a global level for this website, right? So you choose which gallery you'd like to use. You could choose the page you want to land on, right? So I can actually pick sort of my latest project if I decide to, as opposed to just having the general projects page, otherwise known as the portfolio page, to be honest with you. But you have all of these pages that you can go ahead and jump to. And there's more. This is going to get really cool. You ready for this? This is awesome. Have you guys been using... Oh, I love this. Google Analytics. Paste in your tracking code right here. So I actually already have a website, but I'd want to paste in my Google Analytics tracking code. Domain name. I actually do have a specific domain name that I need to add, but in the meantime, I can just have Trani, my portfolio. In fact, let's go Paul Trani, apply, and my subdomain was successfully set. Okay, paultrani.myportfolio.com. In fact, I can easily post that to chat. But let's kind of check that out. Paul Trani, myportfolio.com. You get the idea. Right, so the cool thing is that next setting right here is the custom domain name. So this means that people don't need to know that it's like an Adobe Portfolio that you pay. How much extra do you pay for? Like zero. It's like a free thing we give you, right? So this again could be your own custom site. Nobody has to know it's an Adobe Portfolio, and everything will work as expected. Search optimization, designer, working in Denver for Adobe. You got it, Denver designer. Adobe Certified Expert. You get the idea. All right, cool. Do you guys love this? I can go over all this. I'm just going into the general settings. Favicon is going to be the little icon you see right up here. I have one somewhere that I got to dig up, right? The web clip icon, right? So whatever sort of a little web clip you want to use, that's going to be your general sort of site image is what you want to use. You can password protect it. You can enable a cookie banner if you want to. And again, if I turn this on, you can see it right down here. So right down here, this is so yeah, that's where you can enable cookies, and essentially it will bring up that message below. I last was updating this last week. I can always restore back to the previous version. I don't know how many how far back it saves. It's not gonna restore deleted content, but it does restore the styles of your site. So that's essentially what happens. Yeah. All right, done and done. Do you have any more questions? Sorry, I have not been looking at chat, kind of keeping this as a training, basically a training live stream. So we do have a 99U conference going on this week. Just kind of review that schedule. That's why I'm doing this. 99U, it's Behance's 99U conference. So that's why we're covering how to use Behance. And these are the amazing people that we have. We're going to be reviewing their portfolios and being in awe of their amazing work. Okay. So that's why we're doing what we're doing today. And really we're on the last segment, which is all about customizing your Adobe portfolio. I say it's customizing. This is just, I'm just playing. Like, this is way too fun, right? I can use global page styles. So let's dive into global. Oh, let's actually update that live site. Wait for it. Here we go. Go into all pages, into the media content styles for all pages, and this is what we get. We get our subheaders, all this stuff that we can change on a global level here. Okay, so that's what I'm kind of taking a look at. Nothing I need to change there. Twirling this down, site-wide background colors and font. Let's take a look. Background. Let's include that background color, which of course is going to be that dark gray. Done, and now that matches and that pops off pretty nice. I'm noticing this header is no longer quite working. So again, that's when I might need to go into editing the headers, changing that to a brighter color, of course. Done. All right. Is it possible to prototype an Adobe Portfolio or get access to all the theme assets? Not necessarily. I mean, first off, just so you know, right over here off to the side, I can take a look at these themes and I can preview live examples of Lena, for instance, right? So we can see it right here and how it looks. But essentially you can use this theme and yeah, you probably don't want to recreate it. Essentially that means you're just gonna have to recreate it. But what's cool is it's saving, as you saw a second ago, it's going to be saving all of the website styles. And once I make a change, in fact, it actually might give me a time. So I'm just basically saying you can pick a theme, Mess with it all you want. If you don't like it, like do your prototyping or whatever. If you don't like it, you can always roll back to a previous version if you feel like you're going to break it. All right. So that's the whole idea here. Let's take a look. We have this contact me page that I still need to set up. But right here, this is really cool, and this gets a little bit more unique compared to the portfolio on Behance. But diving into form, I want to say contact me. This looks good. I need to change that text. But you have your name, your email address, and a submit button. Yeah, that looks good to me. I've just added a form, and how much coding did I have to do? 0 coding. All right. Okay. All right, so kind of taking a second look at some of these to see if there's anything else. Here we go. Yeah. You guys have any questions? Oh yeah, so Farouk, you asked a question. Does Adobe Portfolio allow people to export our Behance Portfolio website themes to import on our personal websites? So there's no export capability. I'll show you what we do have if you are interested in that. Let's take a look. Essentially, you don't have the ability to export out everything because this creates your own website. So I'm just kind of double checking. But under settings, you can unpublish a portfolio, but essentially you're not going to be able to export out all these graphics if you have an Adobe Portfolio. So no, you can't. It's just going to mean saving these out. The cool thing is like this is the whole idea of this is to actually, this would replace your current portfolio website is the idea. So there's no way to export out all those graphics. So hopefully that works for you. I'm going to take a look right in here. In fact, let's go back. Because I'm looking at this page and I do have a lot of projects. I actually want to get rid of some of these because I don't really want them to be part of my portfolio. I can actually toggle on and off different projects over here. So you can see I've actually already done that. I've done this on Behance, right in here. So basically when I come over here and I happen to turn something off, right, just by selecting unpublish, that's what you have over here. Is the equivalent of unpublishing. So in this case, I actually want to turn off the ambigram, right? Turning off that ambigram, I just think it looks a little better. And I'm going to turn off this self-portrait down here. Okay, we can see it disappear. And even the shirt, click, you can see it disappear. The monster matchup game, yes, let's turn that off. I'm going to take a look right in here for the other options that you have for each individual project, right? Because actually these are looking pretty good. I'm going to go into, Sugar Monsters, right here. Here's my Sugar Monsters. I want this to be further up, right? Because this one should start at the very beginning. You guessed it. I can grab that title. I can move it up in the list. So now it's right here. So boom, boom. I'm going to take a look at these options right here because you can dive into further sort of editing the page title. We saw that a second ago. The slug happens to be, if I select edit slug, this is going to be the title for it as well, right over here. And this is really cool, by the way. You can add a password to individual pages. Okay. So that's kind of cool. Again, if I'm working on maybe a sensitive project for a client, I can have it password protected. Maybe it's a project that's currently in development, and then I can always use it as a place for them to review their content, and then maybe turn off that password at some point as well. Okay, so this is what I would do for Oak. What I would do in your case is I would actually, if you have that domain name, what you can do, let me just go back. I encourage you to go into domain name and add that domain name here. So then this becomes your new website. That's kind of the Adobe Portfolio approach to that. So yes, to answer your question for Oak, it's right there. Custom domain name. I actually have one. It should be Paul Trani's Portfolio.com. That should be it. Apply. Okay, so correctly with our IP address. So again, you got to check the DNS status and other instructions. I've done this before, by the way, but here's sort of like how you can dive into, this particulars of making sure your domain name works. Okay. So yeah, I need to update some DNS stuff on the back end, but that's where it's done, my friend. Clicking done. We're looking pretty good. We're managing this content. We're removing content. I'd say it looks pretty good. I think we're pretty squared away. There's still more I'd probably want to remove, but it is all good. Oh, actually right up here. Notice you can customize the top portion right here where it says Paul Trani. I might want to make that a nice sort of reddish orange. But notice how you can actually add an image, so you can actually upload a logo as well. I won't take time to do that because it is 9:57 a.m. Pacific time, and that only gives me a couple minutes left to kind of wrap up. Ryan Doran's off to a meeting anyways, so that will work. So just so you know, for Oak, the portfolio, that's a good question. Will it still be there? You probably won't need to use it, but this should actually stay there. It should actually, that domain should still exist as well, but you'll have your own custom domain that you'll want to use anyways. And again, I had that set up. I'm sorry it's not set up anymore, but I got to check the DNS on the back end. I might have let it expire, but nonetheless, thank you everybody for watching. Alexander, is it connected to Adobe Spark? It is not. This is its own thing for portfolios, for fancy people like you. But that is Adobe Portfolio and Behance, creating those Behance projects, rolling that into your own website in a heartbeat, essentially. So thank you so much, Alexander. Tune in again later this week, because here's the schedule, and this is what I'm going to end with, is the schedule live this week. Thursday and Friday, folks, all day long. So thanks so much, everybody. Have a beautiful day, and we'll talk soon. Don't forget to call your mom, drink lots of water. Make sure you floss. Have rather regular checkups. And yeah, give somebody a hug. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Thanks.